Hey guys, how's it going? It's time for another clue time. I hope everybody's prepared. I am literally brain dead right now. I swear to God, guys, I'm not kidding when I say to you I have been in hospital about 3 times in the past 3 days. All in consecutive appointments just to get this wound checked and redressed and irrigated to make sure that it's still okay. I'm literally this close to being able to heal, but unfortunately the doctors can't let me because of this infection that I've had, and it's just I feel like my entire life is the hospital right now. That's how for my first time, and this just being general surgery, it's dragged. It is seriously dragged. I have barely spoken to anybody in my immediate family because I felt like I had nothing left to say at this point. If anybody out there has not had surgery yet, I'm really sorry if I am not hyping you guys up for it. Trust me, aftercare is a lot worse than the actual surgery itself. So, yeah, you've just got to be prepared for all of that, because you're doped up so high on anaesthetic when you're actually in for the surgery, you don't feel anything. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. But anyways, we are not here to talk about my medical history. Again, we are here because it is Wednesday and it is that day of the week again. I need to turn my mic down again. It is that day of the week again. It is clue time again. And honestly, this week, some guesses are really, really solidifying. Others, I'm starting to second guess, and I don't want to. Because we're at the semi-finals now, I want to be sure of my guesses. But anyways, we need to get through these clues this week because there are some important points to discuss. And honestly, I am... Oh my god, as we get closer to the semi-final, there is one concern that is suddenly starting to crop up in my mind that I want to share with you all, and I'm curious to see what you guys think, but we'll see how we go. Anyways, let us start off. Now, it's very rare that the first person out is often the first person eliminated. Well, at least it is on this series. On series in other countries, it happens a lot more regularly where the first person out is the first one eliminated, and to be perfectly honest, that kind of annoys me because that sometimes can fuel the online conspiracy theories going, oh, the first person out is doomed because they're going to get forgotten about by the public and immediately eliminated. No, if people don't like the performance, they won't vote for you. Simple as. Anyways, the first person out tonight was one of the people eliminated, sadly, and it was a very, very unfair elimination. It didn't deserve to happen, but this was a different vibe to some of the other ones that we had tonight, and let me tell you, the crowd were getting on board with a lot of other performances tonight, and trust me, when I heard those performances, I could see why those people were voted through. So, yeah. Anyways, Maypole sang Rita's song, I Wish I Could Make You Love Me. I've never heard it before, and when I first heard it, I thought it was Break Even by the script, so I was very disappointed when it wasn't. That. But honestly, who cares at this point? We all knew it was Melody. Well, the majority of us did anyway, and I did see a few people out there thinking it was other singers, but yeah, I think the majority of us knew that this was Melody. Personally, for me, I think she did a better job at the song than Rita. But don't tell her I said that. Nobody out there knows Rita, it's fine. Anyways, just for the sake of it, I'm going to go through this week's clues. Retro was mentioned. Now, Rita mentioned that there was a club that you could go and dance with the Pussycat Dolls at. What she did not mention was the type of dancing that they did at said clubs. The club that they went to was a place owned by Johnny Depp, and the club involved sometimes strip teasing. retro-style strip teasing. So, yeah. Rather interesting. I don't know whether Melody was involved in any of that, but it was pre-stage days, so maybe it was? I don't know. But there were obviously the mixture of Buttons and Ribbons, both songs from the Pussycat Dolls, the Kevin Costner clue. I mean, if people were onto Melody, I'm pretty sure you all got this one right from the off. Obviously, this was Kevin Costner from The Bodyguard. The shimmying clue, probably another reference to dancing, I don't know. As is the Shake, Shake, Shake. But I did find out that Melody has actually launched her own milkshake mix in a franchise called Millions of Milkshakes. So that might be a very subtle clue, but as that isn't a brand over here, I don't think they'd include something like that. So I'm just going to put that one to one side. Now, the Big Blue Monster hits, that is very clearly a reference to CeeLo, because obviously he helped co-write Don't Ya. And the Robin clue, immediately, because obviously this is the Masked Singer, my mind went to Robin Thicke, but no, I'd forgotten that the Pussycat Dolls was formed by a man called Robin Ant... Oh, or is it a woman called Robin Antin? I always think that the female version of Robin is spelt with a Y, but maybe it's not. I don't know. But yes, Robin Antin forms the Pussycat Dolls. So yeah, I think that nicely tied it together. And she very cleverly threw a Buster in there at the end because Buster Rhymes was featured on Don't Ya. And as Rita said, the Britney Spears clue, the Pussycat Dolls supported Britney on tour. So yeah, all a nice little tie in there. This is the thing, we're getting to the point now where the clues are sort of fewer and far between in the clue packages, because really by this point the judges should be getting a solid idea of who these people are, but I don't think they are. We're in a bit of trouble this year. Anyways, moving on to cricket. Now, cricket, I absolutely love him this week. If you guys want to listen to his performance, I don't recommend you listen to the link that ITV have put out, because I think there was a mixing issue when they edited it and put it on, because on ITV Hub's replay, I can hear his vocals perfectly, but on there, they've sort of dipped out again, and I hate that they have habits of doing that sometimes, but yeah. It's ITV, they hastily edit these things together, so what can you do? Now, All Rise. At this point, I really still want this to be Simon, but I just don't know if his voice goes that high, because he sings in his lower register a lot, but I don't know. But the thing is, Lamar is quite close with Simon, and he has performed with Blue at Judge Stock Festival, but I'm not sure. Now, the box clue is twofold. There is the Academy part, and both Lamar and Simon have performed on TV shows called Academy. Simon was on a show called Star Academy, but Lamar obviously got his start on Fame Academy. But I noticed the other part of the box that said, do not take one, take two. And immediately my mind went to It Takes Two from Strictly. Could this be a red herring? Possibly, because Lamar has also done Dancing on Ice, and from what I've read, he wasn't very good at it. But the fact that it's that specific a clue, that's what's making me think it's... But the trouble is, there's clues from last week that really relate to Blue, I find, but don't relate to Lamar, because there was a talk about having big hits. Blue have had chart-topping albums. Lamar hasn't. He's only become, like, really close to the top, but he's never topped the charts with his albums here in the UK, so that's why I'm doubting it. But he mentioned Splash, and I found out that one of his albums was produced by a producer who I've never heard of before, called Jack Splash, and there was the energy drink with the 2002 on it, which could also be a reference to Fame Academy, because that's when that came out. But there is actually an energy drink called Lamar. But there was also the fact that the colour of the drink was blue again, so I feel like my mind is being slowly stretched out, you know. But the Mobo clue, this is where I feel like I'm really clutching at straws. Lamar has won a Mobo, but Simon has been featured at the Mobos multiple times. So. Oh, God. I am seriously clutching at this point. God. But honestly, my brain... At this point, I am slightly leaning a bit more towards Lamar, but I am remaining hopeful. If none of the clues next week relate to Simon, I'm going to ditch him, because there's no point in holding on hope. But we'll see how we go. Anyways, moving on to Dippy Egg now. First of all, I want to say, whoever it was that started that rumour, whether it be papers or somebody online, that there was a former doctor on the show, please sod off and don't do that again, because that was what got me so hooked on Christopher Eccleston in the first place, because I was like, there's only 2 contestants that could be a former doctor, but now I'm actually starting to think that that could be a clue for someone else who I'm going to mention later. But I just... Like, why would you do that? Why would you make us think that somebody was on the show when they're not? Like, for goodness sake, just leave it alone and let us get on with the guessing game, for God's sake. But, yes. Anyways, moving on. Nicky Campbell has been unmasked now. Congrats to everybody that got that immediately after he performed his Proclaimers number. Like, that was... And I can't tell whether that was... He performed that because he was Scottish, or because he does actually look like one of the Proclaimers. I've got absolutely no clue. But I had a little look back, because obviously I got this one wrong, so I wanted to go back and look at the clues from multiple previous weeks. So we had the 4th clue. Now, people took this to mean 4th as in just a Scotland reference, but he and his actor mate Ian Glenn used to call in Radio 4th as a joke and do imitations of... or like pretend to be different characters, like they'd prank call the radio and enter in as competitions, which I think that's very, very clever. I like that. The vote clue, he takes people's calls on his breakfast radio show about the local elections. The questions clue, he presented a show called The Big Questions. All the farm and zoo clues. Now, I don't think he lives on a farm or he's presented a show about a farm, but he has been very, very active about animal rights. So, yeah, good on you for that, Nicky. Full on support you for that, my man. And he does sing as well. That was a clue. He has got some... I can't tell. I did see songs that he's done when I looked that up, but I don't know whether they're his own or whether they're covers. I'll need to double check the titles. But the opera clue, he actually presented a show called World of Opera, which I thought was a nice... I've never heard of it, but might be worth checking out now. The running clue, he has been a part of Run Britain. Not really sure what the horses were about, so I'm going to leave those. Now, this might be a bit of a stretch, but the cake clue. This was the clue that got stuck going over and over in my head, and I just could not figure it out. But there is a cake called Dundee cake, and there was a woman on British Bake Off, called Nikki, who was from Dundee, and that is a serious stretch, I know, but yeah, I'm just gonna have to. But they've made stretches like this on The Masked Singer before and beyond, so I don't know. I really don't know. The cop badge, obviously, he was a voice, as he said, on Motorway Cops. He talked about winning trophies. He's actually won several Sony Awards and an ARIA. Would you believe? I didn't know that he'd presented it, or whether British presenters can get ARIAs. I don't know whether it's that exclusive to Australia. I'm not sure. But I've got to say, I did love his performance this week. I really loved his performance this week, and I was so gutted to see him go out. But I realised after I looked back on the episode's performances, he was the only one that really did sort of like an older, classic song. Like everybody else was doing more sort of modern, like 2000s onwards kinds of songs. So, yeah, bad night to pick Moon River, I think. But finally, yes, the 2 last clues. The prime clue, obviously, as they mentioned, he interviewed Tony Blair. Don't think there were any long lost families clues in there. If anybody did see some, then please let me know in the comments. But had they probably might have come in later if he'd stayed in there for longer. I'm not sure. And I have absolutely no idea what the Say What You See thing was about, because obviously the panel... Jonathan got so stuck on it being outnumbered, and I have absolutely no idea whether he was right or not. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on. So, we have Bigfoot. next. Now, this is where my concern comes in, guys. So, Bigfoot has been a big crowd favourite, like, all through the weeks. They loved him last week, they love him again this week. And this is what's worrying me. I'm worried that we're going to have another unfair elimination next week, and Bigfoot might actually end up in the finale. And we'll have a situation like Belgium did with their third series last year, where Mushroom, who could sing but wasn't necessarily the best singer, and honestly, I actually think he was even a better singer than Bigfoot. But if Bigfoot makes it to the finale, I'm going to be like, oh god, I feel like this series has gone a bit off the rails. But, yeah, I'm nervous. That's all I'm going to say for next week. I am nervous. So, yeah, the fact that Bigfoot survived this week over Maypole, it's... Yeah, obviously he did a crowd pleaser, but still. Now, going on to the clues. JT, Alex is a very big Justin Timberlake fan, and this is the thing, I swear to God, all of these clues seem to pertain to people that he's fans of. It's crazy. The keeper, Alex, wanted, I think, to be a goalkeeper in Soccer Aid, and they gave him, like, the soccer gloves, but I don't think he could wear them properly because of his hands, bless him. Left back and forward, obviously he, as Mo said, he played left back in Soccer Aid. Macaroni, another football clue, he draws a lot of inspiration from Wayne Rooney. The fans, I noticed, were Chinese fans, and I thought that one night, I couldn't remember what I'd said about the one night in clue, but I thought that was a reference to him going to China or something like that, but no, they spent a night in the Natural History Museum. But, yeah, I wondered if that could have been a reference to his conversation with Joanna Lumley talking about her travels through China on the last leg, which infamously got rather inappropriate and a bit awkward towards the end of it, so... Yeah, interesting clue there. And finally, the tow truck clue. Alex had a spell where he was driving, where he liked to drive around to different football stadiums following his favourite football teams and watch them play in the different cities. And he was, I don't know where he was at the time, but he was outside a stadium, I think, near a pub where the football match was going on, and he'd stopped to watch Sheffield and Hull play each other, and someone ploughed into his car and wrote it off. And his car infamously got towed in front of thousands of jeering Hull fans in the pub, and he was a Sheffield supporter. So yeah, that must have been a bit embarrassing. And finally, the Say What You See was a £1 Million Drop, which is a reference to one of the many shows that Alex has been on with Davina, and obviously he mentioned in the clue package that he knows more than one of the panel, so I'm not surprised that he's sort of getting guessed at this point, but yeah, kinda hope he goes next week. Fingers crossed. I have to say, for the next performer, Air Fryer, what the F was that? Like, I have never heard... It's rare for us to get musical theatre performances on The Masked Singer, so I'm so happy that we're getting them from Air Fryer. But I have never heard a performance like that on this show, and it just goes to show that whoever is under that mask is a seriously accomplished singer. Like, the notes that she was hitting on that last chorus were just, again, pitch perfect and out of this world. It is going to be a serious two-horse race to the finish between her and Piranha once we get down to the wire. Like, my God, it's unbelievable. Now, she said, does my face sound familiar? I wasn't too sure what that meant. I thought maybe that could be a Bearded Lady reference. I don't know. And the Walk of Fame star on the floor, I didn't know whether that was just a reference to Hollywood, because Keala Settle doesn't have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, so I'm not entirely sure what that's all about. But I was able to find a reference to Nicole. She and Nicole apparently performed the Special Olympics World Games closing ceremony in Abu Dhabi in 2019. But again, the Obama and the Pitch Perfect clue. This is another thing where the internet just isn't giving me the answers that I want. Like, I'm looking through her wiki pages, I'm searching the answers online. Nothing came up. Nothing came up, so I have absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to take from that. But the final clue that we got was the desert sand, and I looked it up. Amanda Blanc, a businesswoman who went on Desert Island Discs, said that she would take This Is Me with her if she was stranded on a desert island. So yeah, yeah, it's interesting because there was a very big mix of songs in there, including Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. So that's an interesting mix of songs to include with This Is Me. And of course, Say What You See, Sister Act again. How have they not got this this now? This is just it's getting ridiculous now. It really is getting ridiculous. I really hope they're able to figure this out sooner or later because it's driving me mad. Now, next up, Eiffel Tower. This clue package was definitely the easiest one of the night for me outside of Maypole because it's the easiest one for a person who hasn't been unmasked so far. First of all, I just want to say about her performance, which was Stay by Rihanna. This has been performed by so many different masked singers already. So it's now been performed on America, on Australia, and now it's been performed here. Is it necessarily my favourite rendition of Stay? No, that title still goes to Snapdragon. But, yeah, she did a great job of it, without a doubt. But the first clue was the Chuck Norris clue. And this is a nice little tidbit. Tiffany's first ever property that she purchased was Chuck Norris's old house in Lemon Heights in California, which, honestly, the way that celebrities go about buying properties, like you see in the papers these days, you see so many celebrity like mansions or land or residences going for millions and millions of dollars or pounds or whatever money they're being paid for with. And yeah, all of a sudden you see another massive celebrity snatching it up. It's crazy. The Academy clue, there is a vocal coaching academy in LA called the Tiffany Coaching Academy. Honestly, celebrities have so many... Well, I say it's named after her. I don't actually know if that is the case, but I'd like to think that it is. You'll Get to the Top of Me. Again, that sounds like chart topping, but I don't know. The 330 metres tall clue, I say clue, I don't know if that actually is a clue or whether that's just a reference to how tall the Eiffel Tower actually is, but still. And the Breakfast Club sign, none of Tiffany's songs were actually featured in the film The Breakfast Club, but I think that's actually a reference to Breakfast at Tiffany's. So, yeah, not a lot of nice little clues in there, but I think this is one that we've definitely got pretty much wrapped up at this point. Now, obviously, the judges were struggling with the Say What You See clue, and I wasn't entirely sure if the guy in the audience was correct, but I did actually find out Tiffany was on Celebrity Fit Club. She had a lot of weight struggles, and she dropped about 28 pounds on the show, so good for her. Well done. Well done. And finally, my absolute... Well, I say favourite. He's my favourite to win. One of my favourite voices on the show this year has to be Cricket, but... Piranha. Now, this is the person that I think that Doctor Who shenanigan was all about, because McFly made a cameo appearance on Doctor Who. So I think that's where the papers suddenly got this idea that, oh, a former Doctor's on the show. No, somebody that's guest starred on Doctor Who is on the show. It's not an actual Doctor. But still. That's happened. It's out the way. It's out the window. Let's move on. So, the sophisticated and fancy clue. I couldn't really find anything about that because I don't think Danny's done modelling or anything like that, because Mo mentioned modelling, but you can't really take what the judges say at face value these days. Honestly, I swear to God, they get worse every series. But if it is a clue to that, I think that might actually be a reference to Danny's wife. But I know McFly sort of had their own sense of style back in the day. I don't know. But he talks about showing some talent and not needing a reality check, which obviously says to me reality talent show, and he's a judge on The Voice Kids. I swear somebody mentioned to me the kissable thing. He was voted like most kissable male or something like that in 2005. If anybody has got that factoid down, please let me know in the comments, because I could not find that anywhere. But the 3,000 kisses, very clearly a reference to the song Year 3000, which was written by Busted and obviously Muck Busted. And the Valentine card, which said Love C, I can guarantee you guys that means Love Charlie, aka Rhino from last year. So that's a nice little throwback. Still a Brit nervous. Obviously McFly have won a Brit. The space clue. This doesn't actually relate to Danny, it relates to Tom, but Tom actually wrote a book called Space Band and made a few songs from that, which I think the boys actually helped him to sort of perform and write in the studio. And finally, we had the Say What You See clue, which is the Royal Albert Hall, and McFly performed their 10th anniversary concert at the Royal Albert Hall. So that is all the clues that we have for this week. We are obviously down to our final 5. I am very, very nervous for what's going to happen in the semi-final because, as I said before, again, there is that worry there in my head that suddenly Bigfoot could go through to the final, but I don't know. I don't know, because we've had multiple occurrences where some celebrities have got all the way to the semi-final without being in the bottom, and then they've gone out in the semi-final. So I don't know. I'm hopeful that nothing bad happens from here, but you never know. But yeah, that's where we are with that, and yeah, I'm very, very excited for the semi-finals this week, because it's going to be quite an interesting semi-final, I think, because we've got a lot of really, really good contestants. Obviously, we've had the one person that's been in the bottom 2 for like, well, most weeks since the merge, which is Eiffel Tower. She's been in the bottom like both weeks since the merge. So maybe we won't have a similar case here, but you never know. But I'm really hoping that I get the final 3 that I'm looking for, which is Cricket, Air Fryer, and Piranha, because that is going to make the end competition, I think, very, very tough, because you've got the clear musical theatre gorgeousness of Air Fryer, the raspy soul and, you know, depth of feel from Cricket, and just the pure rock grit from Piranha, and just that proper sort of high male chest voice. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very hard one to call, I think, if it's those 3. But again, nervous. But thanks very much for tuning in again, everyone, and I will see you on Saturday for the reaction. Bye, everybody.